Your performance review is not a conversation about last year. It's a negotiation about next year, and most people walk in prepared for the wrong meeting. They arrive with a list of things they did. Their manager arrives with a decision already half made. In the next 10 minutes, you'll hear a full review acted out in English, and then the 9 phrases that carry it. The first one is the one that decides how the whole meeting goes, so let's start there. Here it is. The headline for me this year is: You open with one sentence, not a list. If your manager remembers one thing from this meeting, it should be the thing you chose, not the thing they happened to write down last week. Elena has been at the company 2 years. This is her annual review with her manager, David. Listen once, then we'll take it apart.
Thanks for making the time. So, before I give you my read, I'd like to hear yours. How do you think the year went?
The headline for me this year is that I took over the reporting process in March, and it stopped being a bottleneck. That's the thing I'd want on the record.
Say more about that.
When I picked it up, the monthly close was taking us 9 working days, and we were always the last team to deliver. We're at 4 now. I can't take full credit for that. The automation was Priya's work, but the part I owned was rebuilding the sequence and getting the 3 teams to agree on one deadline.
That's fair, and I'd agree with it. I'll give you the other side too. There were a couple of moments this year where I found out about a problem late. The vendor issue in July is the one I keep coming back to.
That's fair. Can you give me an example beyond July so I make sure I'm fixing the right thing?
Honestly, July's the clearest one, but it's a pattern I want to watch.
Understood. I've noticed it too, and what I've started doing is flagging things at the point where I'm still not sure they're real problems. That's uncomfortable for me, but I think it's the right trade.
I think that's the right instinct.
Can I ask you something forward looking? What would it take for me to be operating at the next level?
Scope, mostly. You run your process very well. I'd want to see you run something you didn't build.
That's useful. I'd like to own the vendor relationships end to end. Is there a path to that this year?
Let me think about the timing, but in principle, yes.
Thank you, this was useful. Can I send you a short summary of what we agreed, so we're both working from the same version?
Please do.
Notice what Elena never said. She never said, I did my best. She never said, I'm a hard worker. She never said, but that wasn't my fault, which is the sentence that ends more careers than any mistake ever has. She said 9 specific things. Here they are. 1. The headline for me this year is one sentence chosen by you. Managers sit through a lot of these meetings, and they leave with a summary, not a transcript. Decide what that summary is going to be before you walk in. 2. That's the thing I'd want on the record. This is the quiet one, and it does a lot of work. On the record tells your manager that this is the sentence you'd like repeated when you're not in the room. Because you won't be in the room. The conversation that actually decides things happens later, between managers. 3. When I picked it up, it was taking 9 days. We're at 4 now. A before and an after. I improved the reporting process is a claim. 9 to 4 is a fact, and a fact can be repeated by someone else. If you have no numbers, use words with the same shape. When I picked it up, we were missing most of our deadlines, and by the end of the year, we were hitting almost all of them. What matters is that something was worse before you arrived. 4. I can't take full credit for that. The part I owned was... This is the most useful sentence in the entire meeting. It sounds modest, and it is, but read what it actually does. It draws a precise line around your contribution. People who claim everything get believed about nothing. Naming what wasn't yours is what makes the rest of it credible. 5. That's fair. 2 words, and they're hard to say. When criticism lands, your instinct is to explain. Don't. Not yet. That's fair buys you the entire rest of the conversation because your manager is no longer bracing for an argument. And here's what you never say instead. But that wasn't my fault. Even when it's true, especially when it's true, say it. And the meeting stops being about your year and starts being about whether you can take feedback. 6. Can you give me an example so I make sure I'm fixing the right thing? You're not challenging the criticism. You're asking for specifications. And if there's only one example, you've just learned something important. It wasn't a pattern. It was one bad week. 7. I've noticed it too, and what I've started doing is the point of a review isn't to agree with the problem. It's to show it's already being worked on. Present tense, not I will, which is a promise. I've started, which is evidence. 8. What would it take for me to be operating at the next level? Say this exactly, not am I getting promoted, which asks for a yes or a no and usually gets a no. This version asks for a list, and once your manager says the list out loud, they've partly committed to it. 9. Can I send you a short summary of what we agreed? Nobody does this, and it changes everything. You write the version of the meeting that survives. 3 lines in an email, sent the same day. When someone reads it in 6 months, they're reading your account, not their memory of it. 3 things to take out of your English permanently. I did my best. It's what people say when they have nothing specific. Replace it with the before and after. But, right after criticism, everything before but gets deleted from your manager's memory. Put a full stop in, then take a breath, then speak. I feel like I did a good job. I feel like gives your own performance away as an opinion. Say what happened instead and let them do the concluding. The 9, out loud with me. The headline for me this year is, that's the thing I'd want on the record. When I picked it up, it was taking 9 days. We're at 4 now. I can't take full credit. The part I owned was... That's fair. Can you give me an example so I make sure I'm fixing the right thing? I've noticed it too, and what I've started doing is, what would it take for me to be operating at the next level? Can I send you a short summary of what we agreed? Say them until they sound like you, not like a script. Your review is one meeting a year, and the language you use in it travels much further than the meeting does. If this was useful, subscribe. Next episode is the English of the one-to-one with your manager, the meeting you have every week and nobody prepares for.